Well, happy Sunday. Sorry to be a little bit late. I'm out here in a hotel and the Wi-Fi is not so great. So I have Neil as me, and I'm so happy and grateful to have these two gentlemen here today with us. They are both big in the recruiting business and technology. I'm going to introduce, you saw already last time, Kurt Scott. Please go back to the YouTube video, which I'll link down later. So you can see his interview and what he offers physicians for free to basically connect with healthcare organizations who are looking for physician leaders. Now, Kurt, hi, Kurt, how are you doing? Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Hi.
Doing well.
Hi, Neil. So I want to introduce Neil because you haven't met Neil yet, and Neil Anderson is both in the recruiting and technology business. I'm going to have him talk to you about how what MedCV and KontactIntelligence does for physicians out there. Maybe you could tell us briefly.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on the show. We started MedCV as an application or an app for physicians to manage all their credentials. The thought came to us after Hurricane Ivan hit our local market, and some of my friends that live on the beach lost their homes, and they found all their credentials floating in the Sound. So I thought there has to be a better way where you can have all of your credentials, get your CME, track all of that, and then obviously also be introduced gracefully to opportunities around the country in the event that you're looking for a new opportunity. And so we built MedCV, and it comes on the heels of what we've done as our core competency or our main company. We develop software for hospitals, health systems around the United States to help them recruit, onboard, retain, and do network development of their networks of physicians. So that enterprise level software is used by the Veterans Administration as an example, all the way down to rural health systems and large health systems in between to manage that activity. And so it made sense that we could connect the technology dots, so to speak. One set of our clients need doctors. The other set of clients, the physicians, could possibly be in need of joining one of those fantastic organizations around the country. And then in the middle of that is the managing of all your credentials, so you have it. It's portable, it's right. Safe, and you can use it to apply and also re-credential and keep track of your CME and a bunch of other things.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate what you offer. What we're going to be talking today, I think, is just so you guys are experts at this, the whole recruiting process. And in particular, people were very interested in learning what a vision statement is in terms of recruiting. How can physicians really stand out when they're looking for a leadership position, or, really this applies to anyone out there who's looking for a leadership position. How do you create your vision statement and what is it? So let's just start by defining what this vision statement is, and maybe Kurt, I'll have you start with that.
All right, thank you. Well, the concept of a vision statement typically has been in the past, an organization may ask, their finalist candidates to produce this vision, which is kind of basically their vision into the future. What do they want to do with the department they're going to lead? What will it look like in 3 years and 5 years, and how will they go about leading this department and growing it and meeting the expectations of the organization? So what the three of us are now recommending, which is a little different twist on this, is to actually have candidates that are in the process. If you're a physician or anybody else looking at a leadership position and you want to elevate yourself in the eyes of the organization, what we're suggesting is that you go into the interviews first with the idea that you're going to be putting this vision statement together, which is, again, your plan for the area you're going to be responsible for leading. And you're going to verbalize that. You're going to put a document together. So you need this information as much as you can get from the organization and from your interviews. So once you've had your first or second interview, then you can start formulating this vision statement, which is going to demonstrate to the organization that you're interviewing with what you would do, what
Okay.
your vision is, and that is going to help both evaluate how good this fit is, and it's going to help you elevate yourself from other candidates, because I'm telling you, nobody's doing this.
Right, exactly.
Nobody's proactively developing these.
I love that, and you see it all. So coming from you, that's amazing. What would you say, Neil?
I agree 100%. I mean, it'll be the competitive advantage I think that you'll have if you're going to be in the top 3, and then you want to be positioned as the number 1 candidate, like Kurt said. No one does that just on their own accord, and they should. It will help you articulate to yourself, like Kurt said, is this the right fit for you as well as you go through that process? And then obviously it'll give the the search committee an opportunity to kind of see who you really are, right? And right. What do you see, right? And it'll also give us some insight to support hopefully what you've been sharing with them about your philosophies and leadership skills and how you've overcome obstacles in the past and the results.
Right. As well. It allows for free flowing of information and this relationship building. If you're going in there and you're nervous and you don't even know what to say, this is exactly what you need to just have that in your toolbox, ready to have that conversation and that discovery process back and forth. So what is the purpose of this, Kurt? What would you say the purpose of the vision statement is, overarching?
Well, not only communicating your strategy, but this is going to show the people that you're interviewing with and the organization how you think strategically, excuse me, how you communicate, how you sell your ideas, how do you rally the troops, how do you get people to buy in to your vision and your strategy and what you want to do. The first 6 months are the big fear for the people that you're going to go in to lead. So they want to know, what is this person going to do? How are they going to approach it? Are they just going to come in and change everything? Or are they going to come in and get more information? And are we going to get involved with that? Are we going to have any say so? So this is kind of, the vision statement is kind of gives them a lot of information. So you have to be very careful. I mean, this has to be done well, because again, they're going to look at this and make a determination on how you're going to be viewed and how elevated you'll be as a candidate. Niels?
Right. Neil, what would you have to say for the overarching purpose, Neil?
I agree 100%. I mean, your critical thinking skills, the proof will be in the pudding, right? Because you can now articulate something into a vision statement. That is, if you've never done it before, it is not easy. I mean, if you think about it, just a full-blown business plan, if you write an 80-page business plan with a, 30-tab, pro forma to go with it, that's a normal business plan. That's going to take you 6 months or a year to write. That's not what we're asking here. But what we are asking is, plus no one will want to read that, right? And then they say, oh, give me a 15-page summary. No one wants to read that either. And so then they say, well, give me a 2-page executive summary. And that's honestly the most that someone's going to want to read is 2 pages. If you can get it down to 1. And I think the other thing is that the search committee is going to have wish list ideas that they want to accomplish, obstacles or threats that they've identified that need to be solved for, and then they're counting on you to be part of that team or maybe leading that initiative. And the other thing too is that when you do this, you've got to keep in mind that a lot of these things that you may come up with are things that they've thought about wanting to do as well. So you've got to be careful about how you approach that, because number one, you may or you may not want to take the risk of stepping on someone's toes.
Right.
So it depends on.
I think, Neil, before we get into that, and I think that's a great point to conclude on. let's go through the nitty gritty, like some basics of what should be in my vision statement. Many physicians don't know how to write a business plan. Many physicians are, you were talking, this is very obscure for a lot of physicians. So let's just lay it down, and then we'll talk about how do we find out more. People who out there are listening to this, well, how do I find out more about exactly how to do this? But right now, Kurt, what would you say what are the fundamentals that should be in this vision statement?
I think the fundamentals really need to be, you kind of give, Niels had a great point about having an executive summary. So that's going to be the intro, and that's going to give a summation. And you're going to want to hit what's the current state. That demonstrates you've been listening, you understand their organization, what's there currently. But that's a very minor piece. So don't get too enthralled with telling them what they already know, because they're there, obviously. So, but you do want to tell what the current state is and then where you want to take it. So you're going to want to talk about growth initiatives. Are there new services that you think are missing that need to be developed? Growth initiatives when it comes to staff and additional physicians and advanced practitioners. If you're going to add a new service, does that mean new equipment? There's a variety of things. What are the locations? Are you where you need to be? So those are some of the fundamentals that I've seen using this technique as a part of our recruiting process when I was at Geisinger. It really helped help us understand where they wanted to take it. And it also helps align with what we thought we had in our mind.
Right. And this forces physicians to think about what they need in an interview, as opposed to saying what I can give to you, because that's what we're so used to doing in an interview. We need to stop and say, okay, let me put the glasses on of the other person who's sitting across from me and think about what do they want from me. And that's what this is about. So yeah, Neil, what would you add to that?
Well, you may already know the SWOT analysis, right? Strength, weakness, opportunity, threats, or in the other way around. But I would take that approach very simply, and then articulate again. It could be that they identify that, hey, we think there's a new opportunity for a business line. Well, maybe part of your role, or a big part of your role, is how are you going to bring that to life, right? And then also back that up with how you've done that in the past, the obstacles that you've overcome, the threats that you dealt with as far as the competition. That goes back into medical staff development planning as well. Like Kurt said, where do you want to have these services, right? When was the last time you updated your medical staff development plan? And a lot of organizations, I think, also focus on having a broad medical staff development plan, but it may very well be that you need to narrow it down to a specific service line, like Mohs surgery or cardiology or whatever the case may be, and then surgically approach that. But doing a SWOT analysis is the great thing, and I think Kurt laid out a perfect a template in the article that the three of us collaborated on. I think it was last week, and that's available. So the other thing too, I would encourage you to do is, you got to do your due diligence. Even before the first interview, you need to know as much about that organization as possible. So network, right? Talk to someone who's there or have been there if you can find them, or talk to somebody who knows somebody who's been there at that organization, and read Google and find out news and articles and things like that. So you're starting to prepare yourself. I think that's the most important. If you're not prepared, you can't come up with a game plan, and you can't adjust, or what we used to say in the military, you can't adapt and overcome, because every plan, or what is it they say, that no plan survives first contact. So, do everything you can so that you're prepared to pivot and adjust in your interview and also on this vision statement.
Yeah, and remember, they know that you don't know everything about them.
Right.
They know that you don't have all the facts on your vision statement, but it's exactly the thinking process that they want to see, and say, hey, please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is where I think you're at, and this is where I think you want to be. And
Right.
for you to get there, this is how I'm going to help you. That's how it
Right.
should be stated.
That's
So
right.
I love this. Thank you so much. Kurt and Neil, what are your closing statements, and what recommendations do you have? And also, please give us your website name again, and I could type it later on the social media page.
Sure.
Kurt.
The
So, Kurt.
website is the Physician Leaders Career Network, or PLC-Network.com. So in closing, I mean, really, I love Niels' point about doing your due diligence. You know, one of the things that I've seen in my 35 years of doing this is candidates that come in and they know nothing about the organization.
Yeah.
And it's the surefire way to get put at the bottom of the list. So between your homework up front and all the interviews that you do, each interview, yes, you're selling yourself, but you're gaining information. So make sure you have questions laid out and that you get the answers to those questions, and they should be different based on who you're going to be interviewing with. So make sure you get bios on the people that you're interviewing with, so you have specific questions that you can ask them based on what their function is at the organization. But I'm telling you, in closing, there's nobody doing this from a candidate perspective proactively. This is going to really set you apart from your competition. And as we said in our article, there's always competition.
Yes, and your article's on your blog, on your website, so
Yes.
people miss that. Okay, Neil.
Well, and also to tie to that, Kurt mentioned questions. I think it's really important, obviously, to be prepared for what kind of questions that you might be asked, but it's equally important to have questions that you are prepared for. If no one asks questions, that's another surefire way of being mediocre at best, right? So there's some sample questions that are part of the article or the blog on Kurt's site, and also on our MedCV blog.
All right, you've added to the article. I saw that. So please go to what's your website?
Yeah, so it's medcv.com. It's very simple. MEDCV, Charlie Victor.com. And in closing, I think from our perspective, our mission is to help every physician, whether you're going into clinical practice and just starting out, and to help you learn things and provide tools and resources that they didn't teach you in medical school about the business of healthcare, all the way up to, maybe this is the first time you're really stepping into a physician leadership role. Don't be afraid. Worst case scenario is that you're not the right person for the job, but you've learned from this whole exchange by interviewing, and you've got to do that probably several different times. Don't be disappointed that you didn't get picked up to be that new leader. Eventually you will. It's just like, see one, right? Do one, teach one.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the way you do it. And you got to do it a few times before you're really good at it. And just keep falling forward.
I love that. Thank you. You also brought up a great point before, that when you go into an interview, both of you mentioned that you really need to tailor. You can't be pushing and saying, come in as the expert, as we're so used to doing as physicians, telling patients what we know and what they need to do. Instead, we got to change our communication style and our leadership style based on the person we're speaking to, and maintain that humility and not that we're not humble, but so our communication style has been so habitual that we come across as not being humble.
I think that's really important, Elsie, that you have to know your audience. You don't have to become a psychiatrist as well, to really understand it. But also, look, if you're getting into leadership, now you're getting into politics. You're getting into strategy, budget, finance, return on investment, politics. And so you've got to also kind of keep an eye on who you're speaking to, how you're speaking to them, what's their history. Are there initiatives that they thought that they wanted to get across, but they weren't able to get across, but now you can partner with them to make it happen? Or are you going to be bringing ideas to the table that one person has already thought of, and then that could be, a strain on that relationship. You just never know. So, watch your flanks, have a 360 on your neck, on your head. At the same time, if this organization is not right for you, do not take it. There's a philosophy, right? If you work hard for something and you do your homework, you do your due diligence, and you've earned it, right? Then you're going to be better at it, right? So, if you've earned it, meaning that if I'm interviewing someone and I feel that they have earned the job, right, then I'm going to want it more. I'm going to want to go get them. So don't make this a one-way conversation about how great you are, right?
Right.
Hold back a little bit as well, because you want them to want you.
Right.
Okay.
Very good. And we can talk about this all day, I think.
Yeah.
So
That's
if
right.
the audience is really interested in hearing more about interview tricks and how to, really nail it during the interview, when we were talking about the vision statement, we're talking about preparing for the interview, but nailing it within the interview, please comment below and like us. And thank you so much for today. I sorry about the glitches and the delay, but that's technology for you. Thank you for joining us every Sunday. And please check out leadphysician.org, our website. If you're interested, we are going to be starting another leadership program for physicians by physicians in June of this year. And you could go on our email list and we can notify you when that happens. Next Sunday, we have a great speaker who was supposed to speak 2 Sundays ago. So thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Neil, I think you can end it.
Well, let me just also say that at this level, if anyone wants to speak to Kurt and have him, I'm volunteering you, Kurt, obviously, but reach out and get on the telephone. Right. And same with me. If there's any tool or ideas or experiences that we have that can help you, that's what we're here for. Outside of our normal business and technology, never hesitate to call us. Okay.
Love that. Thank you so much. You guys are great help to all of us in medicine.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak and share.
All right, Neil. I think you got to end it for us because I let you be me.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.